What is going on, Diablo 2 fans? Dabrunski here. In today's build video, I'm going to be breaking down what I think is one of the most confused builds in Diablo 2. You can 2-hit Diablo, you can pulse AoE, take out monsters in the pits, you have arguably slow clear speed in the Chaos Sanctuary, but you can take out bill waves no problem, but at the same time, you're a very squishy build. So if you haven't figured out from the clips or the thumbnail yet, I'm going to be breaking down a 62,000 damage Zeal Passion melee sorceress build. Yes, you heard me correctly, 62,000 damage. It's a pretty interesting build, one that I've actually never played before, but I have taken a lot of time to theory craft and I think optimize the gear the best that I can. So again, timestamps will be in the description below to highlight certain segments of the video. Please take advantage of them. And also a quick reminder before we jump in, just want to let you guys know that if you do enjoy my YouTube content, I do stream it twice a week on Twitch. So any follows on that platform would be very much appreciated. That being said, guys, let's jump in. So the first thing that I want to do is break down the attribute point distribution. So with this build spec, I decided to go with a max block approach. So that just means enough points into dexterity to reach 75% block rate, enough strength to equip my gear, and then everything else in vitality. I will say that I did experiment with a max vita setup and max block, and you're just so squishy because all of your damage is coming from elemental, so you're not getting any leech back. So I really do feel like max block is the appropriate choice for this build. Just adds a little bit extra survivability. Again, sound off in the comment section below if you guys disagree, but I did toy around with both and I really do think max block is the way to go. So as far as the skill tree goes, starting off with the fire skill tree, I put 20 art points into enchant, fire mastery, and warmth. So warmth is just a damage synergy to enchant, and then fire mastery boosts the enchant damage as well. This is a very good skill. You get a lot of attack rating, fire damage for your sorceress as well as your mercenary. That's one of the things I think people forget with a high level enchant skill is my mercenary setup has almost 11k damage with the Might Aura, Fortitude, Affinity, and the enchant proc. So the mercenary hits like a freaking tank, so making sure you max out enchant is super important. For the lighting skill tree, I put 20 art points into lighting mastery, then 1 into static field, 1 into teleport, and 1 into telekinesis. And then all of my remaining points I put into frozen armor. You could go shiver armor for extra defense, but I personally prefer the frozen proc from frozen armor, so that's why I went that route. You could alternatively put extra points into static field if you just wanted a ridiculous radius, but I really feel like 1 hard point with all the plus skills having 17, a radius of 14 yards, it was completely fine for this setup. So moving on to the gear now, guys, the first thing I want to talk about, a little bit of a disclaimer, is that this is a hero edited build. I know a lot of you guys freak out at that and you sound off in the comments, I'm not watching the video anymore, it's hero edited. The purpose is to really just demonstrate the full potential of a Zeal Dream Passion Sorceress. So again, just trying to have fun with it. Please take that in consideration when I go over the gear. But the overall themes of this build is I wanted to make sure you hit the 63 FCR breakpoint, 60 IS, that's the max IS breakpoint for Zeal in a Phase Blade or a Sorceress. Then I also wanted to make sure I hit the 86 FHR breakpoint. So I really think that encompasses everything in this build. It makes a super viable, kind of niche, expensive character. But moving on to the gear, the weapon is Passion in a Phase Blade, so Dole, Ort, Eldon, Lem. The whole build centers around this cheap rune word because it grants you +1 to Zeal. So you want to make sure you have enough plus skills to get a level 4 Zeal because that's 5 hits. You really want to make sure you hit that as well, which I did in this build. But the helmet and shield, I'm just using dual Dream, so Dream and a Bone Visage, Dream and a Monarch. So the reason why we're using 2 Dream rune words is you're stacking the level 15 and the level 15 aura together to make it level 30, and then you're boosting that overall level 30 damage output with Lightning Mastery. Someone's going to ask in the comment section, are you sure it works that way? Yes, that's the way that it works. The same as the Tesladin and the Bear Sorceress, they all run on that same theme of stacking the 2 auras together and then boosting the damage output. But as far as the rest of the gear goes, on the offhand, I have CTA and Spirit, and then I have a 220 Caster Amulet, Viper Magi with a 15 IS All-Res Jewel, Brackets Mesh, EK Ring, Ravenfrost Ring, and then dual IK, so IK boots and gloves. You might ask why I'm using dual IK. Well, the gloves give me 20 strength, 20 dexterity, so that goes towards my gear equipment requirements as well as the max block. And then the 2-piece gives me 25 IS. So 25 IS, that's 50, and then 15 from the jewel, that's 65, that's the max IS breakpoint. You do also get a lot of faster unlock, plus life, a little bit of magic find, so a really nice combo in my opinion. I really do think it complements the build well. And then this ring is optional. You could go Dwarf Star if you want to Fire Absorb, Wisp Projector, a second Ravenfrost. You don't have to go with the BK ring, but I think it's a good complement, 1 to all skills, and then also additional plus life. Now, as far as the inventory goes, again, super expensive stuff here, but I have a torch and an Annie, different assorted. This is FHR, and then different assorted, plus life, all res and plus life mana small charms. And then I have a couple 12 FHR lightning skillers, and then 45 plus life lightning skillers. So boosting that overall plus life output, because I only have 1200 life prior to battle orders. So all of these crazy GG charms bring me up to 2k life. Now, the build would work without these 45 lifers and without the FHR, so I do want to stress that plain lightning skillers will be fine. The 60 FHR breakpoint and having like 1700 life would work. Just the extra plus 45 to life in FHR just kind of brings that build from like 9 out of 10 to 10 out of 10. But as far as the mercenary goes, I'm just using an Act 2 Nightmare Offensive Mercenary with Fortitude and Darrell's Visage with a Realm Rune and Infinity. Kind of your standard elemental damage dealing mercenary combo. And then you can see that he has 6,500 life, or excuse me, 6,500 damage, and then hit him with enchant. Jumps up to 8,000, and then it jumps up to 10,500 with a Might Aura. So a very, very powerful mercenary to complement the niche but powerful Dream Passion Sorceress. But that covers the gear in its entirety. So now I want to do a pit run, chaos run, and a high player's difficulty setting Bale run, so you can see a variety of different areas in player difficulty scaling and how effective this build actually is. So you guys will really see that the playstyle of this build is pretty interesting. But before we do that, you want to make sure you pre-buff. So Shiver Armor, and then hit myself and my Mercenary up with Enchant. Now, you want to make sure that you're always using your static field. And then just strike with Zeal, and you'll see that pulse damage actually does take out a lot of monsters as well. Lord's Battle Command. And we'll just jump straight to the pits. Higher difficulty monster settings, you do a lot more static. Lower difficulty like the pit, you don't actually even have to static if you don't want to. It's just, again, going back to like what I said at the start, it's just such a weird build because the single target DPS is just so high on this setup. And then the clear speed, honestly, doesn't really blow me away. Like, I don't think this is any faster than other build videos that I've shown off, like a Death Sentry Trapsin. I mean, if anything, I think it's probably a little bit slower. I mean, you do one-shot anything that you hit. And even that pulse damage when it activates is actually pretty solid as well. A couple statics. A couple pulses. Everything's pretty much dead. We'll grab a couple rejubes. But I definitely, compared to like a Hammerden or again like a Trapsin, clear speed is slower. But then you'll see when we get to like Diablo how much that's crazy single target damage. It really does. I think it's kind of competitive with Charge Strike Javzon. Just gonna go out and say it. Let's see, like, just that, a couple statics. The Fallen die from pulse damage. Interesting build. Get a couple confused procs as well. Okay, so that was just a player's 1 difficulty pit run. So now we'll go to the Chaos Sanctuary. We'll do that again, P1. And then we'll do a player's 8 Bale Wave. And then we'll probably just do a, I don't know, P3 Bale because we don't feel like punishing ourselves too much. Player's 8 Bale will be pretty rough with this build. So we'll just do the Seal bosses. So again, crazy single target DPS, but by no means, like, this is not even touching a Hammerden really for clear speed. And again, I'm using very, very, very expensive gear. A couple statics. Teleport onto the Sace. Get a Shim off. If anything, I think probably these Doom Lords, or Venom Lords, might actually be the worst. It's all that fire damage. A couple statics. Jump in. Okay, so now we'll take on Diablo. This is going to be pretty hilarious. A couple statics and like one hit and he'll be dead. Then we'll do Bill Waves and we'll make sure we crank up the slider to players 8. You'll see the hardest monsters, hardest difficulty. Couple statics, one hit. Boom. So again, kind of really reiterating that point of I don't think that this Chaos Sanctuary run was anything like blowing your mind, but then how quickly the single target DPS is, it's just such a weird build and at the same time being super squishy. I mean, I haven't had any, I guess, crazy close calls with the build, but... So now we'll just do a bail run. I'll make sure I crank up the slider to P8. Bunch of souls. Okay, so gameplay, this is single player. Crank up the difficulty slider to P8. And we'll do P8 bail run. Just a couple statics. Do the same thing. Let's just go back to town.
Not here.
Gotta get rid of that poison. Poison is the worst part of bail running. Now the final two waves, I'm going to kind of do them a little bit below bail to try and avoid his Decrep Curse, just because it slows me down and my mercenary quite a bit. So we'll just get out of that Decrep range. Again, remember, this is players 8, the highest difficulty. Moderate, decent clear speed there. I mean, I do think it's kind of funny. Like, we're a sorceress doing melee striking, which is not really supposed to work, right? And this is extra fast, wave 5. Try and take advantage of that max block. And I mean, I gotta admit, I was a little bit impressed there. Thought for sure we were going to get, kind of smoked there. Okay, so the final players 3 bail wave. Excuse me, final players 3 bail kill, excuse me. What are you doing, Bale? Where's the final wave? Come on. Alright, here we go. Let's see how fast we can take out Bale. P3, but... Okay, so... I would say a little bit slower than a Charge Strike Javazon there. But again, we are a melee sorceress build, so I wasn't expecting to completely, like, shatter records here, but, yeah, guys, that basically wraps up everything I wanted to showcase. So we went from everything, attributes, skill tree, and then gear, and then showing multiple areas as well as difficulty settings. Again, I really do think it's a weird build because concentrated monster packs, like the bail runs or taking on Diablo, relatively good. I mean, it does pretty well in the pits as well, but I think areas like the Chaos Sanctuary, it's slower than a Hammerden, so it's a really weird build, very expensive, and I kind of just wanted to make this video to show that I don't think it's worth actually making. The amount of wealth required to invest to make this build work, and it's really not even that good except for a couple niche cases. But yeah, guys, that wraps up everything I wanted to cover. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think, and as always, if you guys could throw a like on this video, share it, and even consider subscribing if you're new to my channel. I post new weekly content on YouTube, and I do stream twice a week on Twitch. So any follows on Twitch or subs on YouTube would be amazing. Other than that, guys, hope you have a fan-frickin-tastic day, and I'll catch you on my next video or live stream. Peace out.